Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to the Know Michael channel. Today is March 29th, 2026, and the AI world has been absolutely wild in the last 24 hours. We have OpenAI abruptly killing Sora and reshaping its whole strategy, Alibaba rolling out a massive AI digital workforce for millions of merchants, new models from Mistral, brain-inspired chips that could slash AI energy use, serious geopolitical risks around AI infrastructure, and even AI that can read your brain's age while you sleep. As always, I will mention every source and date so you can dig deeper yourself. Let's get into it. Let's start with the bombshell. OpenAI quietly pulling the plug on Sora. This story comes from The Verge AI, published March 28, 2026. The article is titled, Why OpenAI Killed Sora. According to The Verge, on what started as a normal Tuesday, OpenAI ended the day announcing a huge strategic pivot. They are scrapping Sora, their high-profile video generation app. They are reversing plans to integrate video generation directly into ChatGPT. They are winding down a reported $1 billion deal with Disney. They are reshuffling a senior executive role. And on top of all that, they are raising another $10 billion, bringing their latest funding round to over $120 billion in total. The Verge reports that OpenAI is now in a frenzy to turn a profit or at least lose less money. Sora, while impressive, apparently consumed a massive amount of compute without bringing in enough revenue to justify it. So, from the outside, this looks like OpenAI saying we cannot just burn GPU cycles forever on flashy demos. This has to make business sense. This also fits into a bigger theme you will hear throughout today's video. AI companies moving from hype and demos toward agents, automation, and real revenue, even if that means killing beloved projects. Hold that thought, because it connects directly to our next stories. Staying with OpenAI, there is another angle on their strategy shift. This next piece comes from a WeChat article on mp.weixin.qq.com, published March 28, 2026. The article is titled OpenAI 工程师不写代码了，拆开 Harness Engineering， 看看他们到底在干嘛。The article explains that OpenAI is trying to transform software engineering from humans directly writing and manipulating code into humans designing an environment where an agent can work reliably. In other words, instead of an engineer saying, I will implement this feature, the engineer says, I will design a system of tools, safeguards, and prompts so an AI agent can implement and maintain that feature. This harness engineering idea lines up with what we are seeing across the industry. Companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, and others do not just want to give you a chatbot. They want to give you AI workers that can use your tools, your code base, your browser, and your cloud resources. And that brings us to a broader explanation of this agent trend. To understand the agent push, we turn to New York Magazine's Intelligencer, surfaced via Hacker News AI topics feed with a link timestamp of March 28, 2026. The article is titled, Why AI Companies Want to Take Control of Your Computer. The New York Magazine piece digs into why companies like Anthropic, OpenAI, and others are building AI agents that can literally operate your computer, clicking buttons, using apps, filling forms, writing code, sending emails, all on your behalf. The key idea. A simple chatbot is cool, but it is limited to text. An AI agent that can take control of your computer is a potential worker. A digital assistant that can perform end-to-end tasks. That is much easier to monetize and much more aligned with where investors want to see revenue growth. So when you connect this back to OpenAI, killing Sora, which burns a ton of compute, raising another 10 billion, pivoting engineers to harness engineering for agents, you see a picture forming. OpenAI and others are going all in on agentic AI as a business model. And they are not the only ones. This next story comes from the South China Morning Post's China Tech section, published March 28, 2026. The article is titled Alibaba to Deploy AI digital workforce for millions of merchants on Taobao, Tmall. SCMP reports that Alibaba is about to deploy an AI digital workforce for millions of merchants on its Taobao and Tmall e-commerce platforms. This new service, planned for release by the end of March, builds on Alibaba's existing business advisor tool. According to SCMP, it provides agentic AI services, essentially AI agents that act like 24/7 autonomous staff. These agents can automate key operations for merchants, including handling customer queries, managing product listings, optimizing promotions, and potentially even tweaking pricing or inventory strategies, depending on how deep it goes. SCMP notes that Alibaba is moving fast to capitalize on the current agent frenzy, partly fueled by competitors like OpenClaw and the broader AI race in e-commerce. So think about this. While OpenAI and Anthropic are building agents for general productivity, Alibaba is building a specialized, at-scale digital workforce for commerce. Same core concept, AI agents that do real work but deployed inside a massive existing business ecosystem. The agent revolution is not theoretical anymore. It is being rolled out to millions of users. Next, let's switch to the model layer, because agents need voices, literally. This story comes from MarkTech Post AI News, published March 28, 2026. The article is titled, Mistral AI releases Voxtral TTS A4B open-weight streaming speech model for low-latency multilingual voice generation. Our source list includes the same MarkTech Post article twice at position 5 and 9, same title, same link, so we will cover it once here. MarkTech Post reports that Mistral AI has released Voxtral TTS, a 4 billion parameter open-weight text-to-speech model. This is Mistral's first big move into audio generation. Voxtral TTS is designed for streaming, low-latency speech generation. It is multilingual. It is open-weight, meaning developers can download and run it themselves, not just through a proprietary API. It completes Mistral's audio stack, since they already had transcription and language models. Now they have added the output layer, voice. This positions Mistral as a direct competitor to proprietary voice APIs from bigger players. And in the context of agents, this is huge. An AI that can see your screen, use your tools, and talk back to you in a natural voice, all running on infrastructure you control if you want. So we have OpenAI pivoting from Sora to agents, Alibaba rolling out a digital workforce, Anthropic and others building computer-controlling agents, and Mistral arming developers with open, low-latency speech tech for those agents. The agent stack is becoming very real, very fast. But now we have to talk about the infrastructure and the risks that come with this. Our next article is an opinion piece from the South China Morning Post's China Tech section, published March 28, 2026. It is titled, AI Infrastructure on the Frontline, Lessons for Asean from the Iran War. SCMP reports that on March 1st, after Israel and the United States initiated attacks against Iran, Amazon Web Services, AWS, reported drone strikes against its data center facilities in the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. Those strikes caused structural damage and impaired cloud services for those countries. The article also notes that Iran warned that US tech companies with Israeli links, including Google, Microsoft, Palantir, Nvidia, and Oracle, are on its list of legitimate targets for countermeasures. The author's argument is that in a world where AI and cloud are the backbone of economies, data centers and AI infrastructure are no longer just business assets. They are strategic targets in geopolitical conflicts. For ASEAN countries, the lesson is, if your government, your banks, your hospitals, and your businesses all depend on a few foreign hyperscalers for AI and cloud, you are exposed. You might need regional redundancy, sovereign cloud strategies, or even your own AI infrastructure to stay resilient. When we talk about agents doing everything for us, we are also talking about concentrating power and risk in these huge data centers. And as we have just seen, in a conflict, those can become physical targets. This ties directly into our next story. What if we could run powerful AI with far less energy and maybe distribute it more widely? This next item comes from the University of Cambridge, highlighted via Hacker News AI Topics feed, linked March 28, 2026. The report is titled Computer Chip Material Inspired by the Human Brain Could Slash AI Energy Use. The linked Cambridge article describes new chip materials that mimic how the human brain processes information. The idea is to build hardware that is more neuromorphic, closer to how neurons and synapses operate instead of just scaling up traditional GPUs. If this works at scale, it could mean far lower energy consumption for AI workloads, potentially smaller, more efficient edge devices that can run serious models locally, and less dependence on enormous, power-hungry data centers for every AI task. Tie this back to the Asean piece on data centers being attacked and to Mistral's open weight models. If we can run strong AI locally on efficient chips, we get a world where AI is less centralized, energy costs drop, and maybe AI infrastructure is a bit less of a single vulnerable point of failure. Of course, making chips like the brain is easier said than done, but it shows where the research frontier is heading. Now, let's switch from hardware back to humans, especially the youngest ones, because all this AI content is not just changing infrastructure, it is also changing minds. This next article comes from The Conversation, surfaced via Hacker News AI Topics with the link dated March 28, 2026. The article is titled, Why Exposing Young Children to AI Content Could Have Irreversible Consequences. The Conversation is written by academics and researchers, and this piece raises concerns about what happens when very young children grow up surrounded by AI-generated content, videos, stories, images, even interactive characters. The main worries include developmental impact. Kids may struggle to distinguish between real and synthetic content, which could affect their understanding of reality. Social and emotional development. If children interact heavily with AI friends or AI caregivers, it might change how they form attachments and social skills with real humans. Bias and manipulation. AI-generated content can encode hidden biases or commercial incentives. Irreversible in the sense that early childhood is a critical window. Once those developmental pathways are formed, they are very hard to change. This is a crucial counterpoint to the excitement around agents, digital workers, and synthetic media. It's not just about what AI can do, it is about who is consuming this content, especially when they are too young to understand what AI generated even means. And speaking of the brain and long-term impact, our final story today is about AI literally reading your brain's age in your sleep. The story comes from Tech News in Taiwan, published March 29, 2026, based on research published March 19th in JAMA Network Open. The headline is AI 读懂你的梦中脑波脑龄每超龄10岁失智风险增近 40%. Here is the idea. Based on the Tech News summary, researchers used AI to analyze brainwave patterns during sleep, your EEG signals. The AI estimates a brain age based on those patterns. If your brain age is older than your actual chronological age, that gap is a warning sign. The study, as reported, found that for every 10-year increase in brain age beyond your real age, your risk of dementia goes up by almost 40%. This is a powerful example of AI in medicine. It could allow early detection of abnormal brain aging before clinical symptoms appear. It turns something as routine as sleep monitoring into a window on long-term brain health, and it shows how pattern recognition at scale can reveal subtle signals humans might miss. But it also raises privacy and ethics questions. If an AI can infer your brain's biological age and dementia risk from your sleep data, who controls that information? How is it used by insurers, employers, or governments? So, across today's stories, we have seen AI as a worker, Alibaba's digital workforce, OpenAI and Anthropic-style agents as infrastructure and geopolitical target, AWS strikes, Iran's warnings. As a hardware challenge, brain-inspired chips from Cambridge. As a voice, Mistral's Voxtral TTS. As a developmental influence on kids, The Conversation's warning. And as a medical diagnostic tool analyzing your sleeping brain, Tech News and JAMA Network Open. Let's pull it all together. From The Verge's March 28th piece, Why OpenAI Killed Sora, we see that the age of flashy, compute-hungry demos with unclear business models is under pressure. OpenAI is pushing toward agents and automation, supported by harness engineering, described in that March 28th WeChat article. Alibaba, as reported by SCMP on March 28th, is deploying AI agents at e-commerce scale. New York Magazine's piece, via Hacker News, explains why big AI companies want agents that can control your computer. Mistral, according to MarkTech Post's March 28th report, is giving those agents multilingual, low-latency voices with Voxtral TTS in open-weight form. Meanwhile, SCMP's opinion piece on March 28th argues that data centers powering all this can become targets in real conflicts, as described with AWS in the UAE and Bahrain, and related warnings about US tech firms. University of Cambridge research, via Hacker News, hints at brain-inspired chips slashing AI energy use. The Conversation, via Hacker News, reminds us that flooding kids' lives with AI content could have deep, possibly irreversible effects. Tech news coverage of the JAMA Network Open study shows AI turning sleep brainwaves into an early warning system for dementia risk. So we are in a moment where AI is not just a cool tech story anymore. It is a labor story, an infrastructure story, a health story, a childhood story, and even a conflict and risk story. If you want to read more, check out the original sources in the description. The Verge AI, South China Morning Post, China Tech, the WeChat Harness Engineering article, MarkTech Post on Voxtral TTS, Cambridge on brain-inspired chip materials, New York Magazine Intelligencer via Hacker News, The Conversation via Hacker News, and Tech News on the Brain Age study. If you found this roundup useful, hit subscribe so you do not miss the next one. Let me know in the comments, which of these stories do you think will matter most 5 years from now, agents as workers, brain-inspired chips, or AI in medicine and childhood? Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next AI News update.